I pulled into the gravel driveway of my lakeside house just as the sun started setting over the water, painting everything golden and peaceful. I'd been looking forward to this weekend for months. No work emails, no stress, just me and the quiet house I'd bought 2 years ago as a rental investment. My sister Diana had been staying here temporarily with her family for the past 18 months, but I figured we could coexist for one weekend. I was wrong. Diana met me at the front door with 3 packed suitcases at her feet and her husband Brad smirking behind her like he knew something I didn't. She laughed, and it wasn't a nice sound. "You're not a guest here, Faith. You're going to babysit in the house you paid for while we take our anniversary trip. The kids are already in bed." I stood there frozen, keys still in my hand, as she brushed past me toward their car. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Diana was already halfway to the car, Brad trailing behind her with a carry-on bag slung over his shoulder. I finally found my voice. "Wait, what? Diana, stop. You can't just leave your kids with me without asking first." She turned around, and the smile on her face made my stomach drop. It wasn't warm or sisterly. It was triumphant. "Can't I? You're here, aren't you? You came to your house. Well, surprise. You're on babysitting duty." She tossed her hair over her shoulder. "We'll be back Sunday night. There's food in the fridge. Don't mess this up." "I'm not babysitting," I said, my voice getting stronger. "If you want to take a trip, that's fine, but you need to stay home or find actual childcare. I drove 3 hours to relax, not to watch your children." Brad laughed, an ugly snorting sound. "Good luck with that, Faith. You always were the pushover sister." Something hot flashed through my chest. "I'm not a pushover, and this is my house. My name is on the deed. You're living here as a favor, remember? A temporary favor that's lasted way too long." Diana's expression shifted, going cold and calculating. She walked back toward me, pulled a manila folder from her oversized purse, and tossed it at my feet. The papers scattered across the porch. "Go ahead and make a scene, Faith. But you might want to read those first. We'll be at the Belmont Resort if you need us. But you won't need us. You'll be too busy realizing how badly you've messed up." They got in the car. I stood there watching their taillights disappear down the winding lake road, my heart pounding. What had just happened? I bent down and gathered the scattered papers, my hands shaking. Inside the folder were legal documents. Real legal documents with official stamps and filing numbers. My eyes scanned the pages, and with each line I read, my breath got shorter. Diana had filed papers claiming she was a legal tenant with squatters' rights. She had utility bills in her name. She had documentation of continuous residency for 18 months. She had photographs of herself receiving mail at this address. She'd built a case. But that wasn't the worst part. Underneath the tenant claim documents were printouts from Airbnb. My Airbnb, except I didn't have an Airbnb account. The profile picture showed the house, my house, with a description written in what I recognized as Diana's overly cheerful writing style. The host name was Faith M, and it showed 137 completed bookings. My vision blurred. I flipped through the pages. Calendar screenshots showing Diana had been renting out rooms in my house when I wasn't here. Bank statements showing deposits totaling over $40,000, none of which I'd ever seen. Reviews from guests thanking the wonderful host for the beautiful lake house experience. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and checked my property records online. There it was. Diana had filed a homestead exemption claim. She was trying to establish legal ownership. I called her. It went straight to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. I texted her, "We need to talk right now. Call me." 3 dots appeared, then vanished. Then a text came through. "Busy boarding our flight. Don't bother the kids. I have cameras watching. Be a good babysitter." Cameras? I looked around the living room. There, in the corner near the bookshelf, a small white device I'd never seen before. Another one mounted near the kitchen doorway. My security system, the one I'd installed when I bought the house, was gone. Diana had replaced it with her own. I ran upstairs to check on my niece and nephew. Emma, 7 years old, and Lucas, 4, were sound asleep in the master bedroom. My old master bedroom that Diana had taken over. The kids looked so peaceful, so innocent. They had no idea their mother had turned my house into a battlefield. I backed out quietly and went to the guest room where I usually stayed when I visited. Except it wasn't a guest room anymore. It was set up like a hotel room with fresh linens, decorative pillows, and a laminated card on the dresser listing Wi-Fi information and checkout procedures. This was one of the Airbnb rooms. My phone buzzed. Another text from Diana. Don't even think about leaving my kids alone. I have cameras everywhere. Enjoy your weekend, babysitter. I sat on the edge of the hotel-style bed in my own house and tried to breathe. I'd bought this property as an investment. I'd worked overtime for 2 years to save the down payment. When Diana said she and Brad needed a place to stay after Brad lost his job, I'd said yes because that's what family does. Temporary, she'd said. Just until they got back on their feet, 18 months ago. I pulled up my contacts and called my friend Ashley, who worked as a paralegal. It was Friday night at 10 o'clock, so of course I got her voicemail. I left a rambling message about squatters' rights and illegal sublets and identity theft. My hands were still shaking as I opened my laptop and searched for the security system app Diana mentioned. I couldn't find it in my app store. She must have used some cheap camera system I couldn't access. But wait. When I'd first bought this house, I'd installed a comprehensive smart home system. Locks, thermostat, cameras, the works. Diana had disabled my access, but that system was hardwired into the house. I dug through my old emails until I found my master admin account information. My heart raced as I logged in through the backup server. And there it was. The system was still active. Diana had just changed the surface-level passwords and added her own cheap cameras, but she'd never found the main system. She probably didn't even know it existed. I could see everything. The cameras I'd installed were still recording, and more importantly, I had complete control of the smart locks. A text came through from Diana, one more message before her flight took off. A photo of her and Brad in the airport lounge, champagne glasses raised, with the caption, "Thanks for the free babysitting, sis. Maybe next time you'll think twice before acting like you own the place." Oh wait, you do own the place. How embarrassing for you. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I looked at the legal documents scattered around me. Then at the smart home control panel on my laptop screen. Diana thought she'd won. She thought she'd trapped me here, forced me to care for her children while she enjoyed a vacation funded by money she'd stolen from me. She thought I was still the same Faith, who'd always said yes, who'd always bent over backward to keep the peace, who'd always put family harmony above everything else. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those legal documents and Diana's smug face. Around 6 in the morning, I gave up and made coffee. Then sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, going through everything systematically. Emma patted downstairs at 7:30, her blonde hair messy from sleep, dragging a stuffed rabbit. "Where's Mommy?" I forced a smile. "Your mom and dad went on a little trip, sweetie. I'm gonna hang out with you and Lucas for the weekend. Want some pancakes?" Her face brightened. "The kind with chocolate chips?" "Absolutely." While Emma ate, I researched tenants' rights laws in New York. The news wasn't good. Diana had established residency. She received mail here. She paid utilities. Even though she'd never paid me a cent of rent, even though I'd never signed a lease, the law was on her side in some ways. Evicting her could take months. Lucas woke up crying for his mother. I picked him up, soothed him, and made him breakfast. I was reading him a picture book when the doorbell rang at 9 o'clock. A sheriff's deputy stood on my porch. "Faith Morrison?" "Yes?" He handed me a thick envelope. "You've been served." My hands went numb as I opened it. A lawsuit. A former guest from Diana's illegal Airbnb was suing me for $75,000. The guest, a woman named Patricia Thornton, claimed she'd slipped on the deck and injured her back. She was suing the property owner and Airbnb host for negligence and medical expenses. My name was all over the paperwork as the defendant. "Ma'am, There's more, the deputy said, not unkindly. He handed me a second envelope. This one was from the Homeowners Association. A cease and desist letter for unauthorized short-term rentals, along with a fine for $12,000 for violation of HOA covenants. I didn't authorize any rentals, I said, but my voice sounded far away. My sister did this without my knowledge. The deputy shrugged. That's between you and your lawyer, ma'am. But you're the property owner on record, so legally, you're responsible. He tipped his hat and left. I stood there holding papers that could financially destroy me. Papers for things I'd never done. Emma called from the living room, asking if we could watch cartoons. I told her yes, my voice robotic, and set her up with the television. Then I went to Diana's bedroom. The room smelled like her perfume, that expensive floral scent she'd started wearing after moving in here, using my money, I realized. Everything in here was purchased with money she'd stolen from me. I felt sick, but I had to know the full extent of it. I searched her dresser, her closet, until I found her laptop tucked in the nightstand. The password screen appeared. I tried her birthday. Wrong. I tried Brad's name. Wrong. Then on impulse, I tried Emma's birthday. 071520016. It unlocked. The Airbnb account was still open on her browser. I clicked through the history, my horror growing with each page. She'd been running this illegal hotel for 14 months. The early listings showed low prices and hesitant descriptions, like she was just learning. But the recent ones were polished, professional. She'd gotten good at this. And she'd used my name for everything. Faith Morrison, host. Faith Morrison, property owner. When things went wrong, when guests complained or left bad reviews, it was Faith Morrison's reputation getting destroyed. Diana had created a second account under a fake name for the positive reviews, keeping her own identity clean. I found a spreadsheet labeled Income. Diana had made $63,000 from my house. $63,000 while I'd been working 60-hour weeks at my accounting firm, thinking my sister was getting back on her feet. In the Documents folder, I found something worse. A file called Project Takeover. I clicked it open. It was a timeline, a detailed plan spanning 18 months. Month 1, move in and establish residency. Month 2, change utilities to own name. Month 3, begin documentation of continuous occupancy. Month 6, start Airbnb to generate income. Month 9, file squatters' rights paperwork. Month 12, begin identity theft through credit cards. Identity theft? I searched her email. And there they were, confirmation emails for credit card applications, in my name, using information Diana had gathered from living in my house. She had access to my mail, my personal documents, everything. I pulled up my credit report on my phone, 3 cards I'd never opened. Total balance, $23,000. Recent charges from the Belmont Resort. Brad and Diana's romantic anniversary trip was being funded by credit cards fraudulently opened in my name. My phone rang. Ashley, my paralegal friend, finally calling back. Faith, I got your voicemail. What's going on? I explained everything, my voice cracking multiple times. Ashley listened, and I could hear her typing. Okay, this is bad, she said when I finished. But it's not hopeless. The identity theft is criminal, that's clear. The Airbnb fraud is also criminal. The squatters' rights thing is trickier. Diana's smart. She's established residency in a way that makes eviction complicated. How complicated? 4 to 6 months of legal proceedings. You'd need to officially evict her, and she could fight it. Legal fees would run around $15,000, maybe more. And honestly, Faith, even if you start the process, she's living there right now. You'd have to continue paying all the property costs while fighting her in court. I looked at Emma and Lucas in the next room, innocent kids watching cartoons. What if I leave? What if I just go home right now and deal with this from a distance? Don't. Ashley's voice was sharp. If you leave those kids alone even for an hour, Diana will use it against you. She'll claim you endangered her children. She could file for a restraining order against you coming to your own property. You're trapped, Faith. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. After we hung up, I sat in Diana's bedroom surrounded by evidence of her betrayal. My phone buzzed with a text from Diana. It was a selfie from a poolside lounge chair, sunglasses on, a drink in hand. The message read, "Hope you're enjoying babysitting duty. We're having the most amazing time. You should really learn to relax, Faith. You're always so uptight about everything." Another text immediately followed, "P.S. The kids need their allergy medicine at 2 p.m. It's in the kitchen cabinet. Don't forget forget everything else." I'd never forgotten anything in my life. But Diana was building a narrative, making me look incompetent, setting me up. I went through her laptop more thoroughly. In her photos, I found screenshots of text conversations between her and Brad. Recent ones. Brad. "She's so desperate for family approval, she'll never kick us out." Diana. "By the time she figures it out, the house will legally be mine. I've been planning this for 2 years. Brad, what if she gets smart?" Diana. "She won't. Faith is predictable. She'll cry, she'll feel guilty, and she'll do exactly what I tell her because she doesn't want to be the bad guy in the family story. I know my sister. I read that message 3 times. 2 years. She'd been planning this for 2 years, since before she even moved in. This wasn't opportunistic, this was calculated. I checked the property tax records on my phone. My automatic payment had been set up when I bought the house. But when I logged into the county system, I saw the payments had stopped 8 months ago. There was a tax lien filed against my property for $11,000. The property was 60 days from tax sale. Diana had canceled my automatic payment and kept the insurance money I'd been sending her to cover bills. My vision blurred with tears, not just from anger but from grief. This was my sister. We'd shared a bedroom growing up. I'd helped her with her homework. I'd been maid of honor at her wedding, and she'd spent 2 years plotting to steal everything from me. Emma came to find me. "Aunt Faith, can we have lunch?" I wiped my eyes quickly. "Of course, honey. What do you want? Grilled cheese?" I made grilled cheese sandwiches and tried to act normal. Emma chattered about school and her best friend Zoe and how Lucas was annoying sometimes, but she loved him anyway. I smiled and nodded, but inside I was falling apart. My phone rang. "Mom." My stomach clenched. I answered, "Faith Elizabeth Morrison." "What did you do to your sister?" "Mom, I didn't do anything. Diana's been... She sent me a recording of you screaming at her, threatening to throw her and the children out on the street. How could you be so cruel?" "That's not what happened. Mom, please listen. I'm ashamed of you. Your father is too. Diana told us everything about how jealous you've been, how you've been trying to sabotage her marriage, how you've been harassing her. We didn't raise you to be this way. Diana's lying. She's been stealing from me. She's been running an illegal hotel. Enough. I don't want to hear these vicious lies about your sister. Don't call us until you're ready to apologize." She hung up. I stood in the kitchen, phone in my shaking hand, while Emma and Lucas ate their sandwiches. Diana had thought of everything. She'd turned our parents against me. She'd poisoned them with edited recordings and fake evidence. I was completely isolated. Another text from Diana. TikTok. CPS comes Monday. Sign the papers. Faith. The deed transfer is on the kitchen counter. Sign over 50% ownership to me for $1, and this all goes away. Your choice. Be smart or be homeless. I found the papers on the counter under a stack of mail. Deed transfer documents, professionally prepared, just waiting for my signature. I looked at Emma and Lucas, looked at the legal papers that would ruin me, looked at my sister's threats on my phone, and I made a decision. I wasn't signing anything, and I wasn't going down without a fight. Saturday afternoon dragged by like a slow-motion nightmare. I played board games with Emma and built block towers with Lucas, trying to keep things normal for them while my mind raced through scenarios. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped. At 4 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman in a professional blazer holding a clipboard. My stomach dropped. Faith Morrison? I'm Sandra Phillips from Child Protective Services. Emma looked up from her coloring book. Lucas stopped playing with his trucks. They both stared at the official-looking woman with wide eyes. Can we talk outside? I asked, keeping my voice steady. On the porch, Sandra explained that CPS had received an anonymous report. The caller claimed I had a drinking problem, that I'd been verbally abusive to the children, and that I'd threatened Diana. That's completely false, I said. All of it. Anonymous reports still require investigation. Sandra pulled out her phone and showed me photos. They appeared to be from inside the house, showing empty wine bottles on the counter and in the trash. These were sent to our office this morning. I stared at the photos. I didn't drink any of that. Diana must have set this up before she left. Diana is the children's mother? Yes, and she's been systematically trying to steal my house and frame me for things I didn't do. I have evidence. Sandra's expression didn't change. I'll need to conduct a home inspection. For the next 45 minutes, Sandra walked through every room of my house, taking notes. She pointed out that the home was messy, dishes in the sink, toys everywhere, beds unmade. All true because Diana had deliberately left it that way. Sandra photographed the wine bottles, which I knew Diana had planted. The children appear healthy and well cared for, Sandra said finally. But there are concerns about the home environment. I'll be returning Monday morning for a follow-up visit. In the meantime, I expect the home to be clean and safe. If I have any concerns on Monday, we'll need to discuss temporary alternative care arrangements for the children. My blood ran cold. You'd take them away? Only if necessary to ensure their safety. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. She handed me her card and left. I closed the door and leaned against it, my legs shaking. Emma appeared beside me. Is that lady going to take us away? No, honey, no. Everything's going to be fine. But Emma's worried face told me she didn't believe me. And honestly, I didn't believe me either. I spent the next hour frantically cleaning while the kids watched a movie. While I scrubbed the kitchen, my phone exploded with alerts. Banking alerts, credit card alerts, fraud alerts, $8,000 charged at the Belmont Resort, $4,000 at a spa, $2,000 at a restaurant. Brad was living it up on credit cards opened in my name. I tried calling the police non-emergency line. The dispatcher listened to my story and said credit card fraud between family members was a civil matter. I needed to file a police report in person. But I couldn't leave the kids to go to the police station. I called the credit card companies to freeze the accounts. But they needed me to file a police report first before they could close them. I was stuck in a bureaucratic loop, while Brad charged thousands more to my name. My phone rang. Diana. Hi, sis. She sounded cheerful, relaxed, just checking on my babies. How are they? Diana, we need to talk. Now. Is something wrong? Are the kids okay? The kids are fine. You know they're fine because you have cameras watching. What's not fine is CPS showing up because of your fake report, or Brad charging $8,000 to credit cards you opened in my name, or the lawsuit you set up against me for your illegal Airbnb. Whoa, hold on, Diana interrupted, her voice still sickeningly sweet. Those sound like personal problems, Faith. Maybe if you'd been more responsible with your property, none of this would have happened. You're stealing from me. You've been planning this for years. Planning what? Living in a house you generously offered to share? Running a small business to support my family? Using credit that, let's be honest, you should have offered to help us with in the first place? Her voice hardened. You have everything, Faith. Good job, no kids tying you down, a house on a lake. Would it kill you to share a little? I've been sharing. You've been living rent-free for 18 months. Rent-free? Diana laughed. You want rent? Fine. Backdated 18 months. Factor in the property appreciation I've contributed to by maintaining the place. And I'd say we're even. That's insane. What's insane is you thinking you can just waltz into my home and disrupt my children's stable environment. Do you know how traumatic that is for them? Having an unstable aunt barging in, making wild accusations? I couldn't breathe. She was twisting everything. Diana, please. We're sisters. Can't we just sign the deed transfer papers, Faith? Give me what I deserve. Or Monday morning, when CPS comes back, they're gonna find a very different situation. Emma already knows to tell them about the time her Aunt Faith yelled at her. Don't you, sweetheart? My blood froze. You coached her? Your own daughter? I'm protecting my family, by any means necessary. Oh, Brad says hi. He's really enjoying the resort spa. Did you know they have couples massages? Your credit card is getting quite the workout. She laughed. Sign the papers, Faith. You've got until Monday morning. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen, shaking with rage and fear. I pulled up Diana's laptop again and searched more aggressively. In her documents folder, I found a file labeled Monday Plan. I opened it, and my hands went numb. Diana had outlined her entire strategy for Monday. CPS would arrive at 8 a.m. Diana had coached Emma to have a mysterious bruise and to say Aunt Faith was angry if asked about it. There was a makeup tutorial video saved in the same folder, showing how to create realistic-looking bruises. Brad would rush home from vacation to rescue his children from their unstable aunt. Diana had already contacted a friend who worked at the local news station. The headline was pre-written, Abusive Aunt Arrested After Injuring Niece in Home She Claims to Own. I kept reading, and it got worse. Diana had found a buyer for the house. As soon as I signed over partial ownership, she planned to force a sale, splitting $400,000. She'd give $50,000 each to two people named Marcus and Paige for their help, keep the rest, and file for divorce from Brad. Marcus and Paige. I knew those names. Marcus was my ex-boyfriend from 5 years ago. Paige was his wife. What did they have to do with this? I searched Diana's email for those names, and found a conspiracy that made my stomach turn. Brad was having an affair with Paige. Marcus and Paige were both in on Diana's scheme. They planned to testify in court that I was unstable. Marcus would claim I'd been stalking him for years. Paige would back up whatever lies Diana needed. This wasn't just my sister betraying me. It was a coordinated attack from multiple people I'd once trusted. I opened a bottle of water with shaking hands and tried to think clearly. Tomorrow was Sunday. Monday morning, CPS would return. Diana's trap would spring shut. I'd be arrested or at least investigated. I'd lose my house, my savings, my reputation, everything. Unless I stopped it. I remembered the smart home system I'd discovered last night. Diana didn't know I had access. She thought she'd disabled everything, but the original system was still active, hidden beneath her cheap cameras. I pulled up the admin panel on my laptop. Smart locks throughout the house. Temperature controls. Security cameras I'd installed that were higher quality than Diana's. Motion sensors. Everything networked and under my control. Diana's cameras were watching me, but my cameras were watching everything, and she had no idea. I went through the recorded footage from the past 6 weeks. My system had been recording the whole time. I had video of Diana setting up her fake wine bottles. Video of her coaching Emma on what to say. Video of Brad going through my personal papers to gather information for identity theft. Evidence. Real, admissibly evidence. I started downloading and backing up everything. Every video, every document from Diana's laptop, every email, every text message I'd received. I uploaded it all to 3 separate cloud accounts, emailed copies to myself, and sent a complete package to Ashley. While the files uploaded, I set up automatic email delivery for Monday morning at 9 a.m. If anything happened to me, if I was arrested or blocked from my accounts, the evidence would automatically go to the police, CPS, my lawyer, and my parents. It was nearly midnight when I finished. Emma and Lucas had been asleep for hours. I sat in the dark living room, my laptop glowing, looking at the control panel for my smart home system. I could deactivate Diana's key code right now, lock her out, take back control. But something stopped me, not fear, strategy. If I locked her out now, she'd claim I endangered her children. She'd turn it into proof of my instability. No, I needed to wait. I needed to let her think she was winning right up until the moment I proved she'd lost. My phone buzzed. A text from Diana with a photo of her and Brad in a hot tub, champagne glasses raised. The message. Monday morning, Faith. Last chance to do this the easy way. Sign the papers or lose everything. Your choice. I looked at my laptop screen. at the control panel that gave me power over every electronic system in this house, at the evidence files that proved every lie Diana had told, at the security footage showing her crimes in crystal clear detail. I typed back a simple message, "See you Monday." Then I smiled for the first time in days, because Diana thought she held all the cards. But she'd made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated me. And by Monday morning, she was going to learn exactly how big that mistake was. Sunday morning arrived with gray clouds and the threat of rain over the lake. I made breakfast for Emma and Lucas, who seemed quieter than usual. Kids sense tension even when you try to hide it. "When is Mommy coming home?" Emma asked, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate. "Tonight, sweetie. She said they'd be back by dinner time." That seemed to satisfy her, but Lucas started crying, wanting his mother. I held him while he sobbed, feeling terrible for these innocent kids caught in their mother's schemes. Whatever happened tomorrow, I had to make sure Emma and Lucas didn't get hurt more than they already had been. After the kids settled into playing with toys, I went back to Diana's laptop. I knew I was running out of time. Diana would be home tonight, and I needed to understand the full scope of what I was dealing with. I found a folder I'd missed before, buried in a subfolder marked miscellaneous. It was password protected, but the password was the same as everything else: Emma's birthday. Inside was a document titled Phase 2. My hands trembled as I read. This wasn't just about the house. Diana had been embezzling from our parents' bakery business for 6 months. She'd created fake vendor accounts, paid herself $28,000, and used my name and social security number for the fraudulent accounts. Our parents had discovered the shortage last month. Diana had blamed me. That's why Mom had called yesterday, furious and disappointed. Diana had shown them forged emails from Faith, asking for money, claiming financial troubles, making me look desperate and dishonest. I felt sick. My parents believed Diana. Their anger toward me made sense now. They thought I'd stolen from the family business. I kept digging. In Diana's email, I found communication with someone named Thomas Chen, a real estate attorney. Diana had consulted him about the fastest way to gain ownership of a property from a family member. His advice laid out the exact plan Diana had followed: establish residency, create tenant documentation, file squatters' rights, force a buyout or sale. I searched for information about legal recourse. What Diana was doing crossed multiple legal lines. The Airbnb fraud alone could be prosecuted. The identity theft was a federal crime, the forgery of documents, the credit card fraud, the embezzlement from our parents. I filed an online complaint with the FBI field office, detailing the wire fraud and identity theft. I didn't expect a response. It was Sunday, but at least it would be documented. Then my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Miss Morrison? This is Special Agent Ramirez with the FBI. I'm calling about your complaint filed an hour ago." I nearly dropped the phone. "You're calling on a Sunday? We've been investigating a pattern of Airbnb fraud involving family members. Your sister's activities match a larger operation we're tracking. I need you to preserve all evidence and not confront your sister yet. Can you do that? She's coming home tonight. Then be careful. Don't let her know you've discovered anything. We need to build our case properly." She paused. "Miss Morrison, you need to understand something. If your sister is part of the network we think she is, she's more dangerous than you realize. These fraud rings are organized and ruthless. Do you have somewhere safe you can go?" "I have her kids here. I can't leave them." Agent Ramirez was quiet for a moment. "Then document everything and stay alert. I'll expedite the investigation, but you need to be careful. People involved in these schemes sometimes escalate when they feel cornered." After she hung up, I sat staring at my phone. Diana was part of an organized fraud ring? This was bigger than I'd imagined. I went through Diana's browser history more carefully. She'd been researching something called property skimming and had been communicating on encrypted messaging apps with people using code names. She'd been learning from others how to steal property from family members. My phone buzzed. It was 5 p.m. A text from Diana. "On our way home. Hope you enjoyed your weekend serving as unpaid childcare. We'll be there around 9. Make sure the kids are bathed and ready for bed." I looked at the time. 4 hours until Diana returned. 4 hours to prepare. I checked the smart home system again. Everything was ready. I'd changed all the access codes while keeping the system appearing normal to Diana. When the time was right, I could lock her out with a single click. But Agent Ramirez had said not to confront Diana yet. The FBI needed time to build their case. I was caught between two dangers: letting Diana continue her schemes or acting too soon and losing legal ground. Emma wandered over. "Aunt Faith, can I ask you something?" "Of course, honey. Is Mommy mad at you?" My throat tightened. "Why do you ask that?" "I heard her on the phone before we left. She was talking about you. She sounded mean." Emma's eyes were worried. "I don't like it when people are mean." I pulled Emma close. "Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements. But that's not your fault, okay? You and Lucas are loved no matter what." But what if Emma stopped, biting her lip? "What is it, sweetie?" "Mommy told me I might have to talk to some people tomorrow. She said I need to say certain things, but she was acting weird about it, and it felt wrong." My heart stopped. "What did she tell you to say?" Emma looked scared. "I don't want to get in trouble." "You won't, I promise. You can tell me anything." She said if anyone asks, I should say you were angry and yelled at me, and that you grabbed my arm really hard. But you didn't do that. You're nice to me. Tears filled Emma's eyes. Why would Mommy want me to lie? I held Emma while she cried, rage building in my chest. Diana was willing to traumatize her own daughter to win this sick game. She'd coached a 7-year-old to lie to authorities, to falsely accuse me of abuse. That crossed a line I couldn't forgive. "Emma, listen to me carefully. Tomorrow, if anyone asks you questions, you tell the truth. Only the truth, okay? No matter what your mommy said, you just tell people exactly what really happened." Emma nodded against my shoulder. I spent the next 3 hours documenting everything Emma had told me. I recorded a video on my phone with Emma's permission, where she explained in her own words what Diana had told her to say. I stored it with all the other evidence. At 8:45 p.m., headlights swept across the front windows. Diana and Brad were home. I heard their car doors slam, their voices carrying across the quiet night air, laughing about something, the key turning in the lock. They walked in like they owned the place. I guess in Diana's mind she did. "Kids in bed?" Diana asked. Not even looking at me. She dropped her suitcase in the hallway. "Yes, they're asleep." "Good. Did you clean up like I told you?" "The house is clean." Diana finally looked at me, her eyes scanning my face like she was searching for weakness. "You look tired, Faith. Hard weekend?" "Enlightening weekend." Something flickered in her expression, but she covered it with a smile. "Well, Brad and I had an amazing time. Really amazing. The resort was incredible. Thanks for watching the kids." She said it like I'd done her a favor instead of being coerced. Brad smirked at me from behind her, then headed upstairs. Diana stepped closer, lowering her voice. "So, did you think about my offer?" "I thought about a lot of things." "And?" I looked her straight in the eye. "I'm not signing anything." Diana's smile vanished. "Then you're stupider than I thought. Tomorrow morning, Faith, everything changes. You're going to regret this. Maybe. Or maybe you will." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I guess we'll find out tomorrow." I walked upstairs to the guest room, packed my overnight bag, and got ready for what I knew would be a sleepless night. Tomorrow morning, everything would come to a head, and I was as ready as I'd ever be. I woke up at 4 a.m. Monday morning, my heart already racing. I hadn't really slept, just drifted in and out of anxious half-dreams. I checked my phone. Agent Ramirez had emailed at 3 a.m., moving faster than anticipated. Warrant approved. "Do not engage with your sister today, we'll handle it." But CPS was supposed to arrive at 8 a.m. Diana's plan was already in motion. I couldn't just wait around for the FBI while Diana painted me as an abuser. I got up and went downstairs quietly. The house was dark and silent. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, reviewing everything one more time. The evidence was overwhelming. Documents, videos, emails, bank records. Diana had been sloppy because she'd been so confident I'd never figure it out. At 6 a.m., I heard movement upstairs. Brad was up, probably showering. I stayed in the kitchen, trying to look calm and normal. At 6:30, Emma and Lucas came downstairs. I made them breakfast and tried to keep things light, but Emma kept giving me worried looks. She remembered our conversation yesterday. She knew something big was coming. Diana appeared at 7, already dressed and made up perfectly. She looked at me with cold satisfaction. "Big day today, Faith. You should probably pack your things." "I'm good, thanks." "Suit yourself. When CPS finishes their investigation, you'll be leaving one way or another." She poured coffee, completely relaxed. "You know what your problem is? You never learned when to give up. Always had to be the stubborn one." The doorbell rang. We both looked at the clock. 7:15. Too early for CPS. I opened the door to find not a CPS worker, but Diana and Brad standing on the porch. Wait, that didn't make sense. Diana was behind me in the kitchen. I blinked, confused. Then my phone buzzed with motion alerts from the cameras. I pulled it up and saw 2 more cars pulling into the driveway. "What's going on?" Diana demanded, pushing past me to look outside. "A sheriff's vehicle and an unmarked sedan." Diana's face went pale. "What did you do?" "Me? Nothing. But you did plenty." The doorbell rang again. This time when I opened it, a plainclothes detective stood there with a uniformed officer. "Diana Morrison?" the detective asked, looking past me. Diana stepped forward, her confident mask slipping. "Yes? I'm Detective Hayes. We have a warrant for your arrest." He began reading her rights while Diana's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "You have the right to remain silent." "This is insane!" Diana shrieked. "This is a mistake. Faith, what did you tell them? What lies did you spread?" Brad ran downstairs, saw the police, and tried to back away. "Brad Morrison?" Another officer stepped forward. "We have a warrant for you as well. Credit card fraud and identity theft." Emma and Lucas started crying. I went to them, shielding them from the scene. It's okay, I whispered, even though nothing felt okay. Diana fought against the officers as they tried to cuff her. "You can't do this. Those are my children. Faith is the crazy one. She's been threatening me all weekend." "Ma'am, we have video evidence of you setting up fake wine bottles, coaching your daughter to lie, and admitting to fraud on recorded phone calls," Detective Hayes said calmly. "We also have documentation from the FBI regarding your involvement in a larger fraud scheme." "FBI?" Diana's voice cracked. "This is ridiculous. I want my lawyer." Brad was quieter, just looking defeated. They'd already gotten him. More cars arrived. I watched through the window as another sedan pulled up, and 2 people I recognized got out. Marcus and Paige. My ex-boyfriend and his wife, here at 7:30 in the morning. That couldn't be coincidence. Detective Hayes saw them too, right on time. He nodded to another officer, who went to meet them. Marcus saw the police and tried to get back in his car. But it was too late. "Marcus Chen? Paige Chen? You're both under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud." Paige screamed. Marcus cursed. The quiet lakeside morning erupted into chaos. Diana was still fighting, still screaming. "Faith did this. She's framing me. Someone check on my children. She's probably abused them all weekend." A CPS vehicle pulled up. A worker I didn't recognize got out, followed by Agent Ramirez, who I recognized from her photo on the FBI website. "Miss Morrison?" Agent Ramirez approached me while the officers dealt with Diana. "I'm Agent Ramirez. We spoke yesterday. I apologize for the timing. We had to move faster than planned because your sister triggered several federal flags with activity last night." "What activity?" "She attempted to transfer funds and destroy evidence. That accelerated our timeline." Sandra, the CPS worker from Saturday, appeared beside Agent Ramirez. "Miss Morrison, I need to do an emergency assessment of the children." Emma clung to me, terrified. Lucas was sobbing. I felt like my heart was being ripped apart. "The children are fine. They've been fine." Diana was planning to fake a bruise on Emma and coach her to lie about me. Sandra's expression hardened. "I believe you. We received additional information this morning about the false report filed against you." "That's actually why I'm here," to clear you and assess the children's safety in relation to their mother's actions. Diana heard this and absolutely lost it. She lunged toward me, breaking free from one officer momentarily. You ruined everything! Everything! That house should have been mine. You have everything and you couldn't even share. What kind of sister are you? The kind who won't let you commit fraud and abuse your own children, I shot back, surprised by the strength in my voice. Abuse? I never abused them. I love them. You coached Emma to lie to authorities. You were going to fake bruises on her. You were going to traumatize your own daughter to steal from me. Diana's face contorted with rage. They're my children. I can do what I want with them. The officers finally got her under control and started walking her toward the police car. She was still screaming, mascara running down her face, all pretense of composure gone. Brad walked past quietly, cuffed and silent. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Marcus yelled from his position being cuffed. Faith, you vindictive witch! We were trying to help Diana. You always had to win. Help her steal? Help her commit fraud? That's not help, Marcus. That's crime. Paige just cried, not fighting the officers. The whole thing felt surreal. Sunrise was painting the lake golden. Birds were singing. And 4 people I'd once trusted were being arrested in my driveway, while 2 traumatized children clung to me. Sandra took me aside. Miss Morrison, the children need stability. Given the circumstances, I'm granting you emergency temporary custody for 72 hours. After that, we'll have a hearing to determine long-term placement. I'll take them. Of course I'll take them. You understand this is serious? This isn't babysitting. This is full guardianship. I looked down at Emma and Lucas, both scared and confused, their whole world falling apart. I understand. My parents pulled up just as the police cars were leaving. Mom and Dad got out of their car, looking shocked and confused. They saw Diana in the back of the police car. Saw me holding her children. Saw the FBI agent and CPS worker. Faith? Mom's voice broke. What happened? Diana's been arrested for fraud, identity theft, and child endangerment. Brad, too. Marcus and Paige were helping her. Dad looked at the police cars, then at me. The business money. Diana said it was you. It was her, Dad. It was always her. She framed me. She's been running a long con for 2 years. Mom started crying. We believed her. We thought you. She couldn't finish. I know. She's very good at lying. The police cars pulled away, taking Diana, Brad, Marcus, and Paige toward whatever legal nightmare awaited them. Agent Ramirez gave me her card and said she'd be in touch. Sandra scheduled a follow-up for the next day. And then everyone was gone, and it was just me and my parents and 2 traumatized children standing in the driveway of my house as the sun came up over the lake. Can we go inside? Emma asked quietly. Yeah, sweetie, let's go inside. We went into the house that had been a battlefield, and I had no idea what came next. The hours after the arrests blurred together in a fog of phone calls, paperwork, and 2 children who needed constant reassurance. My parents stayed, helping with Emma and Lucas, while I dealt with the legal aftermath. Agent Ramirez called around noon. Miss Morrison, I wanted to update you. Your sister is being processed on federal fraud charges. We've identified her connection to a larger operation that's been defrauding family members across 6 states. She's one of 37 people we're charging. 37? It's an organized network. They teach each other tactics, share legal loopholes, and coordinate attacks. Your sister was particularly effective. She'd successfully stolen property from 2 other family members before targeting you. My stomach dropped. 2 others? A cousin in Ohio and an aunt in Michigan. Both cases were settled quietly to avoid family drama. That's what they count on, Miss Morrison. The victims being too ashamed or too family-focused to press charges. I thought about how close I'd come to signing those papers just to keep peace. How Diana had weaponized my desire for family harmony against me. A lawyer I'd hired that morning called next. Faith, the property is entirely yours, no question. Diana's claims are void. The tax lien can be paid off, The HOA fine is being waived since you weren't responsible, and the guest lawsuit will be dismissed once they understand you weren't the actual host. You'll be okay financially. And the kids? That's more complicated. Diana still has parental rights until a court says otherwise. The emergency custody is temporary. There will be a hearing in 72 hours. My parents sat at the kitchen table, looking 10 years older than they had this morning. Dad kept shaking his head like he couldn't process it. Mom hadn't stopped crying. How did we not see it? Mom asked. How did we raise someone who could do this? She was always charming, I said. Always knew how to work people. She was our daughter. Mom's voice broke. I carried her for 9 months. I raised her, and she turned into this. Dad put his arm around Mom. Then he looked at me with tears in his eyes. Faith, I'm sorry. We should have listened to you. We should have believed you. She was very convincing. That's not an excuse. You're our daughter too, and we failed you. Emma came downstairs, having finally fallen asleep after crying for an hour. Aunt Faith, is Mommy coming home? How do you explain to a 7-year-old that her mother is in jail? That she might not come home for a long time? Your mom has some grown-up problems she needs to deal with. She's going to be away for a while. Because of what she did? Yes. The lying? Yes, honey, the lying and some other things. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that broke my heart. I knew it was wrong. When she told me to say things that weren't true, I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know what to do. I pulled her close. You didn't do anything wrong. None of this is your fault. Is she going to be mad at me? For telling the truth? Maybe. But telling the truth was the right thing to do, even when it's hard. Over the next few days, more details emerged. Brad had lost his job nearly 2 years ago and never told Diana. He'd been lying about job interviews while actually gambling online, losing thousands. When Diana found out, instead of confronting him, she decided to secure their future by stealing mine. Marcus and Paige had gotten involved because Brad was having an affair with Paige, and Marcus wanted revenge on me for a relationship that had ended 5 years ago. They'd all fed off each other's worst impulses. The FBI discovered Diana had been planning to take the money from my house and disappear to Arizona, abandoning Brad and possibly even the kids. She'd been researching how to establish new identity, how to homeschool kids off the grid, how to avoid being tracked. My sister hadn't just been stealing from me. She'd been planning to destroy her entire life and rebuild it with my money. 3 days later, I sat in a courtroom for the custody hearing. Diana attended via video link from jail, her lawyer beside her. She looked different. Smaller somehow. Less polished. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup, wearing an orange jumpsuit. When the judge asked her if she had anything to say, Diana stared at the camera. Those are my children. Faith might have the house and the money and everything else, but those are my babies. She can't have them too. The judge looked unimpressed. Miss Morrison, you coached your 7-year-old daughter to lie to authorities. You plan to fake physical abuse. The evidence is overwhelming. Do you understand the severity of what you've done? Diana's lawyer tried to speak, but Diana cut him off. My sister had everything handed to her. She has a great job, she's smart, everyone likes her. I've struggled my whole life. Is it so wrong to want a piece of what she has? Yes, the judge said bluntly. When you commit multiple felonies to get it. Yes, it's wrong. She could have just shared. If she'd just given me the house willingly, none of this would have happened. So it's her fault you committed fraud? Diana went quiet, realizing she'd said the wrong thing. The judge awarded me temporary custody for 6 months. With a review hearing at that time, Diana was allowed supervised visits once a week if she attended them. Brad got the same arrangement. Diana stared at me through the video link, and the hatred in her eyes was absolute. This isn't over, Faith. You might have won today, but it's not over. The judge banged her gavel. Yes, Miss Morrison, it is. Court adjourned. The screen went dark. Emma squeezed my hand. Can we go home now? Home. My house was home to these kids now. I was their home. Yeah, sweetie, let's go home. 6 weeks passed. Diana was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Brad got 4 years. Marcus and Paige received probation and community service for their lesser roles. All of them were ordered to pay restitution. My parents closed their bakery, unable to continue after discovering the extent of Diana's embezzlement. They were heartbroken but slowly healing. They spent weekends at the lake house, helping with the kids, rebuilding our relationship. Emma started seeing a therapist and was gradually processing everything. She had nightmares sometimes, but they were getting less frequent. Lucas was young enough that he'd likely forget most of this eventually. Diana used her weekly supervised visits to manipulate and guilt-trip the kids. After 3 visits, Emma asked if she had to keep going. The therapist recommended reducing contact until Diana showed genuine remorse. Diana never showed remorse. She spent her visits blaming me, telling the kids I'd stolen their family, insisting everything would be fine if I'd just been less selfish. Eventually, Emma and Lucas stopped asking to see her. I stood on my deck one evening, watching the sunset over the lake. Emma and Lucas were playing in the yard. My parents were inside making dinner. The house felt warm and full in a way it never had before. My phone buzzed, with an email from Agent Ramirez. The fraud network had been completely dismantled. 37 arrests, multiple convictions, millions recovered for victims. Because I documented everything and pressed charges, other victims had found the courage to come forward. I'd lost my sister, but I'd found myself. I'd discovered I was stronger than I'd ever known. I'd learned that being kind didn't mean being weak, and that setting boundaries wasn't cruelty. Diana had tried to take everything from me. Instead, she'd given me something unexpected. A family built on truth instead of manipulation. Emma and Lucas deserved better than parents who used them as weapons. And I was going to make sure they got it. The house on the lake wasn't just an investment anymore. It was a home, a real home, filled with people who chose each other honestly. Diana had been right about one thing. I paid for this house. I worked hard, saved carefully, and invested wisely. She just never understood that the house was never the real prize. The real prize was building a life with integrity, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. And I'd won that prize by refusing to give it up. Standing here now, 8 months after that terrible weekend, I barely recognize the person I was, the scared, people-pleasing version of Faith who would have signed anything to keep the peace is gone. In her place is someone stronger, clearer, more certain of her worth. Emma just turned 8 last week. We had a party here at the house with her school friends. She laughed the whole day, genuinely happy. Lucas, now 5, follows me everywhere, calling me Mama Faith. The first time he said it, I cried for an hour. These kids who were weaponized against me became the greatest blessing of my life. The permanent custody hearing happened last month. Diana's lawyer tried to argue she'd been rehabilitated, that she deserved another chance with her children, but the evidence was insurmountable. The recordings of her coaching Emma to lie, the written plans to fake abuse, the complete lack of remorse during therapy sessions. The judge granted me full permanent custody. Emma and Lucas are legally mine now. Diana has the right to appeal, but her lawyer told her she won't win. She still hasn't admitted she did anything wrong. In her mind, I'm the villain who stole her children and her house and her future. She can't see that she destroyed it all herself. Brad visits the kids once a month. He's working on himself, attending therapy, admitting his mistakes. The kids are wary of him, but at least he's trying. He and Diana are divorced now. He testified against her in exchange for a shorter sentence, and she's never forgiven him for that. My parents have been incredible. Dad helps with homework while Mom bakes with the kids on weekends, teaching them the family recipes from the closed bakery. We're rebuilding our relationship slowly, honestly. They apologize too often for believing Diana, and I keep telling them to stop. Diana fooled everyone. That's what skilled manipulators do. I quit my accounting job. The fraud case opened my eyes to how common financial abuse is within families. I'm working now as a consultant, helping other victims untangle the legal and financial mess when family members commit fraud. I speak at conferences about recognizing manipulation tactics. I've helped 18 people so far recover their assets and their sense of self-worth. The house on the lake is fully mine, legally and spiritually. I refinanced to pay off all the liens and fines. I had the locks changed 3 times, just to be sure. The smart home system that saved me that weekend is upgraded now, secure and functioning perfectly. Every time I adjust the thermostat or lock a door from my phone, I remember that moment when I realized I had more power than Diana thought. I've been dating someone new. His name is James, and he's a teacher at Emma's school. He knows the whole story. On our second date, I told him everything, expecting him to run. Instead, he said, "You're raising your sister's kids after she tried to destroy you?" That's not weakness, Faith. That's heroism. We're taking things slow, but it feels good, healthy, built on truth instead of pretense. Emma asked me last week if I hate Diana. We were sitting on the dock, feet dangling in the water, watching the sunset. I thought about it carefully before answering. No, honey, I'm sad for her. She had a choice to build her own good life, and instead she tried to steal mine. That's sad. Do you think she'll ever say sorry? I don't know, maybe someday, but we can't wait for her apology to be happy. We have to choose happiness anyway. Emma nodded, then leaned against me. I'm glad you didn't give up. Me too, sweetheart. The life lesson I learned isn't simple. It's layered and complex like the situation itself. I learned that loving someone doesn't mean accepting their abuse. That family isn't defined by blood, but by who shows up with honesty and care. That setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. I learned that kind people get targeted because manipulators see kindness as weakness. But kindness combined with boundaries is an unbeatable force. You can be compassionate and firm, loving and protective, understanding and unwilling to be victimized. I learned that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Diana showed me for years that she was selfish, but I kept making excuses, kept hoping she'd change, kept prioritizing family peace over my own well-being. She never changed. She just got better at hiding it until she felt secure enough to drop the mask completely. Most importantly, I learned that integrity is worth fighting for. Diana wanted me to compromise my values, to let her steal from me just to avoid conflict. If I'd signed those papers, if I'd let her win, I wouldn't have just lost a house. I'd have lost myself. And that price was too high. The house behind me glows with warm light. I hear Emma and Lucas inside, arguing playfully about what movie to watch tonight. Mom's in the kitchen, making popcorn. Dad's building a fire in the fireplace, even though it's not that cold yet, just because he likes the ambiance. This is my family now, chosen, honest, real. Diana took so much and tried to take everything, but she couldn't take the one thing that mattered most: my integrity, my truth, my sense of self. And in the end, that's what saved all of us. I walk back toward the house, toward the laughter and warmth and uncomplicated love. The door closes behind me, locking with a soft click. My smart home system sends a notification to my phone. Home secure. Yes, I think, smiling. Home is secure. Finally, truly secure. Not because of locks or legal documents or court orders, though those things helped, but because this home is built on truth. And truth, I've learned, is the only foundation worth building on. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with a family member who crossed boundaries or betrayed your trust? How did you handle it? What would you have done in my situation? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might help someone else going through something similar. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps others find these stories and realize they're not alone. And if you want to hear more stories about standing up to injustice and finding strength in difficult situations, please subscribe to this channel. Share this with anyone who might need to hear that it's okay to set boundaries with family, that protecting yourself isn't selfish. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know it was long and complicated, but life rarely fits into neat, simple packages. I hope my experience helps someone out there realize that you don't have to accept abuse just because it comes from family. You deserve honesty, respect, and safety. No matter who's asking you to compromise those things, take care of yourselves, set your boundaries, protect your peace. And remember that the right people will respect your limits instead of testing them. Until next time, Stay strong and stay true to yourself.